Can you see there's like a... Can you see? Is it okay?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Is it going?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so welcome to my very first episode of piano tuning stuff. I don't know if that's what I'll call it, but it'll be close enough. So I'm going to show you kind of how to take apart a piano real quick. I wouldn't suggest doing it unless you're actually going to buy a piano. That's kind of tricky. You can damage parts, you know. It's not that hard if you have some mechanical sense, you know. Anyway, and then I'm going to teach you what to look for in a new piano. And this is what piano tuners will refer to as a pre-tuning inspection. You almost always see piano tuners doing this when they first come over to your house. But it's always a good idea. You can call a piano tuner and they will come and help you. They can take apart a piano, they have the expertise, and they can help you find a good piano, good price, everything like that. Make sure that it's going to fit your needs and everything. So this is my piano that I got off Craigslist for free. It's not very good, but it'll do. So what you're going to have is the lid, and the lid will just come back. Sometimes it'll be about this far, and it'll just bend in half. This piano hinges on the very back, and it just comes up. So I pulled the hinges off, just unscrewed them. Usually you don't have to do that. You don't have to do that for this. I just did it because it was in the way. This is called the music desk. This is where the music sits. This would typically sit about right here, but I have taken it apart so far just so that we can get it done quick, you know? Make sure you set stuff out of the way so people don't trip on it, like by the door where people will trip on it. This, on this particular piano, this has some side rails. This will go here. They fit on these two blocks like that. There's a little screw here. I'm going to come forward a little so you can see it. So sometimes on piano they'll have screws like this, or little pins, and this will hook in like this. And then this is where the music desk was. You couldn't get that music desk out unless you took this off. So you just reach in, pull that up. Sometimes it's little hooks, sometimes it's little levers, sometimes there's nothing at all. Just depends. So then you just take it, pull it out, take the music desk off. There's really one other part that you need to be concerned about when you're taking it off. From this point you could do it up here. Piano tuners will generally take other things off, like this. This is called the back check, and that keeps the keys from coming off like that. This is called the key slip. It makes it easier so you can look underneath the piano, and then these just come out. So I'm going to do that because these aren't screwed on, and this is how my piano is right now. I want it to be easy to work with. But like I said, you don't have to worry about that. Just take the music desk off and the top off, and then the third thing is down here. Usually what's going to happen is there's a little button, a little tab underneath here. I'll get my flashlight out and you can see it better. Right here. There's a board that sits right here. So you just push that, stick your finger in, and pull the board out. Piece of cake. So now we're going to look at the piano itself. What you want to look for is right here will generally be the name. Right here will generally be the serial number. Piano technicians often like to know this number. It tells them how old the piano is and they can get information on it. Another good thing to look for is the strings. Are the strings rusted or dirty? Just by rubbing my fingers on there, I can get my fingers dirty. That's not very good. You want them to be clean. Another good thing to look for is, this is called the pin, and this is the pin block. So around the pin should be totally clear. You shouldn't see any discoloration at all. If there's what looks like liquid that's been coming out of it, then that means your pin block is either cracked or broken, and it's really hard to tune. You don't want that piano. Look for rust up here. That's a good indicator that the piano is either well or not well taken care of. Look over here. down. These are the hammers that they touch. These hammers are not very good at all. See how they have ridges here? That's where the hammer has contacted the string for so long that it's made dents in it. And usually in a piano you're supposed to get it regulated every once in a while. And what they'll do is they'll unscrew these and take this whole piece, this action out, and they'll file off the hammers to make them smooth. And that will make the piano play nicer, sound better. Usually when they have the grooves will stick on the string, and so the hammer won't come back as quick, it won't sound as good, it'll sound muted, you don't get as good of a tone, so that's expensive to fix. I mean, if you get in a free piano, there's a good chance that you could talk to a technician and still get it cheaper with the repairs that he'd do. So again, consult a technician. You know, if you want to buy it on Craigslist or something, they can really help you get the price down, and you can get really good deals on pianos. I know a guy, a technician, who fixed up some pianos, 3 pianos that he got for free on Craigslist, sold them for like $800 a piece, and they would actually be worth upwards of, if you went to a dealer, a couple thousand, you know? So maybe $1,500. So he cut a significant deal. So anyway, there's that. Another thing to look for is just inside here. These little strings right here, they're called whippins. They hold the action together. This whippin, if I push up on this, it's pretty stiff. And if I push it a lot, it sounds like it's cracking. And it's just old. But make sure they're all there. You can see down inside, you'll see the little strings. Also here, like there's some felts here and here. Make sure they're not too worn. They shouldn't look damaged or indented like these are. Another thing to check is this. It's called damper. You can see this damper here has the same grooves as the hammer does, and that's just going to make it more difficult to mute the string when you play it. Like, you can hear it still ringing out. I don't know if you can on the video, but I can. It continues to ring out. So that's another thing to watch out for. Another good thing is to look up here. This is called the pin block. You just want to make sure that it's level, that it's smooth, that it doesn't bow out this way or up this way, that it's not cracked. That could indicate damage to your pin block. That will make it untunable for the piano technician. And then you're just stuck with a piano like that. There are other types of pianos, of course, like grand pianos. So you have to kind of modify. If you're looking at a grand piano, the action sits underneath and plays up. But you're looking for the same general things, you know. You're looking to make sure the bridle strap is there, look for these felts and make sure they're clean. The felts on the hammer and the felts on the damper, make sure they're good. Another thing, just play every note and make sure that none of the keys stick. So none of these do. I've played through it. You should be able to just press it down, let it go, and it rises back up. If it press it down and it kind of slowly goes up, if there's something wrong, it can be fixed. It's not that expensive to fix, but it still adds to your price. Another thing that technicians do is they'll lift the keys just a little bit to see if they fall down on their own accord. Sometimes they do. See, these two, they didn't. That could indicate a couple different problems. Most likely it's just the felts that need to be replaced inside the key. And that's pretty easy. It's called easing the key, and it's called easing probably because it's easy. Probably not. You know, look down here. Make sure that the pedals both work. This is obviously a pedal that doesn't work. Right here. Unfortunately, the screws that hold this down are stripped. They strip the wood, so that's unfixable unless I like fill it back up and re-drill the holes, and that's fairly time-consuming, a little more expensive. Make sure that the rods are still here. These rods on the side. Make sure the pedals work. You know, when the sustain pedal is pushed down, you want to hear the note ring out. When you let it up, it needs to stop. This was a practice pedal. It made it quieter. You can check that, make sure it makes it quieter. Some pianos have 3. The ones that have 3, generally the middle pedal is a practice pedal, and it'll go down and then shift over and lock down. And that's a really good feature to have. Doesn't have to have that. But, just check those. Another thing you can check is down here. Make sure that the strings are clean. It gives you a better idea of the string. You can also see like dirt and stuff. I mean, that's really nasty. Like a huge layer of dirt. Come closer so you can see this. So what you have down here, this is called the soundboard. This is what vibrates and makes the sound. And it's not necessarily a bad thing, but soundboards can have cracks in it. This is a huge crack. The pieces are jointed together, so they're little pieces and they're glued together. So you can see right here is a glue joint and right here is a glue joint. That's how they're supposed to look. This is cracked. That's bad. You can also see glue that's been dripping down. Someone tried to fix something, or maybe they had a bottle of glue sitting up there. Obviously it's not well taken care of, and that's what you're really looking for. You know, if the soundboard's cracked, it's not going to affect your tone so much. It decreases the value because it says, I haven't taken care of my piano. It hasn't been properly humidified. It hasn't been, like, it's been in the sun or dried out, you know, different things. Another really big thing, and probably the last thing I'm going to mention to look for, is this right here is called the bass bridge. And this right here is called the treble bridge. The strings are really tense. There's a total of about 20 tons of pressure pulling the piano together. Each string has between 300 and 100 pounds of pressure. And what it does is the string comes down here, if you follow my finger, and goes on the lower side of this pin and on the upper side of that pin and kind of curves. So what that does is it puts the tension on the pin, or on the string, so that when the string is vibrating back and forth, if the string by itself is vibrating, it doesn't make a lot of sound, but that comes down and it contacts those points on the bridge, vibrates, and that in turn vibrates this back here, the soundboard. You can hear, like, if I just tap it, it vibrates really well. And that's what it's meant to do. That's where all the sound from the piano comes from. If you've ever played an electric guitar, that's what it would sound like if you didn't have a soundboard. Really quiet, couldn't really hear anything, which could be good in some circumstances. But the problem with the bass bridges is if they're not taken care of and they're not humidified, they get cracks. I'm going to pull out my screwdriver so you can see the cracks. So right here, right where the top edge of that is, you can see that black line. Those are cracks. It happened all along here, starting, it looks like about right here, goes all the way down to here. Like that? Okay. So it goes down here. This means that the piano is untunable. What's going to happen is the piano technician is going to get up there, he's going to start tuning, the string is going to stretch a little bit, it's going to put pressure on these pins right here in the crack, and then those pins are going to shift, and it's going to drop, or usually drop the pitch. But it'll cause trouble. Your piano is going to go out of tune really quick. You're going to have to get it tuned like every month in order for it to stay in tune. It's not worth doing that. The only way to fix that is to take all of this off, all of the strings off, which is really expensive to replace the strings, by the way, and you have to replace the strings. And then you have to ship the soundboard into the company that manufactured the piano. Wait until they manufacture a new one and send it back to you. It is going to be like months where you don't have a piano. It's not worth it. Unless it's a really, really nice piano, unless you're rebuilding an antique or something, it's not worth doing it for. That's my personal opinion, and that's from what I've learned so far. And as you know, I'm in school, I don't quite know everything, but they make it out, the other technicians make it out to sound like it's a pain in the butt. Don't do it. Super expensive. Upwards, I would say, to replace a soundboard is going to be like $2,000 or more, depending on your piano. And obviously you could get a new piano for that. So unless it has extreme sentimental value or really nice antique, you know, don't do it. So other than that, that's pretty much it. I mean, there are other things that you can look for. Like, you can look for cracks or welds in this. You can look for dents in the furniture. A lot of people care about the way the furniture looks. This is obviously just horrible. It needs to be refinished if you wanted it to look nice. Under here, there are felts that would probably need to be replaced if you wanted to get it into really nice condition. You know, what's called regulating. Like, you can see these hammers are pushed out like this in different ways. Those would all have to be fixed, and these screws could be adjusted. They're like between 12,000 and 18,000 different moving parts on a piano, most of which are located in this action that I pointed out from here to here, that are all going to need to be regulated. And that's a really nice thing to do for a good piano. If you get it off Craigslist, you really want a piano that's going to be worth repairing or regulating, because when you regulate it, it's like the difference between, I just told a friend today, a hang glider and a Learjet. You know, one has air conditioning and leather seats and bed in the back for you and whatever, you know, super nice. And then the other one is like, you're just attached to a piece of fabric and metal, and it's kind of scary. Teachers say that the #1 reason why people drop out of piano classes is because the piano doesn't work well, and they get discouraged. They think, why am I not performing as well as I am at the teacher's house? Or they get used to practicing on this piano that's not quite good, and then they go to the piano teacher's house and they play on her really nice piano, and it's like, wow, I suck, what am I doing wrong? And the parents get frustrated, the teacher gets frustrated, the child gets frustrated, and then they drop out and they don't continue the lessons. If you're going to pay for a child to go to get lessons, make sure that you have a good quality piano. And again, a really good method is just call a piano technician, you know, get some preliminary examinations like I just mentioned. Call a technician once you find those good pianos, and he can really tell you like what the piano's valued at, if you're getting a deal, all that kind of stuff. So anyway, till next time, make sure you take care of your pianos, because they are an investment. So